Thank you for coming to this gathering of the candidates. I'm Joe Fogel, and I'm the president of the Monte Beach Neighborhood Association. Tonight, we will have a discussion of key points that all of you have submitted questions, and we've gone through the questions, and our moderator will present the questions. I want to start out first in that we have a camera system that is going to record the event as well as send out a Zoom to people online. And I would ask that you turn off your telephones or silence them. The camera responds to people talking, and we're hoping that the camera will just focus on the candidates as well as the moderator and not be interrupted by the audience. In this occasion, the candidates will answer questions. They will all answer the same questions. The moderator will explain the format shortly. Today we were sitting at Alta Bakery. It was a beautiful day. And as we looked around, people were coming and going, and I realized Monterey is a very special place. Everybody here generally loves it, smiles, and it's not unusual to have passerbys just say, hello, how are you? And I think that the candidates feel this way. So I congratulate the candidates, all of them, for running for office, because I can tell you just on this limited amount of work that I've done, it's a lot of work. And so I would thank them for coming and being a part of this. In this day and political climate, we really have to work hard to maintain a respected tone. Not everybody is going to say what you want to hear. Some will and some won't. But we have to learn, I think, as citizens to respect what each person thinks and honor it. Maybe we won't agree with it, and certainly we can all make our decisions at the time of the election in November. So with that, I'd like to introduce the candidates. The District 3 candidates are Eric Palmer and Jean Rash. District 4 candidates are incumbent Gino Garcia and Brian Perez. And the mayoral candidates are Mayor Tyler Williamson and Monique Caldy. Now I'd like to introduce the moderator for tonight's event, the Honorable Kim Baskin. Kim has been lived in Santa Cruz County since the mid-70s. She owned and ran a store called Pack and Pants in Santa Cruz from, I believe, the late 80s through to 92. The store was devastated, as with most of the stores in Santa Cruz were, and that definitely affected business. During that time, while she was running the business, she also worked as a paralegal for the Santa Cruz County Council. At the same time, while she was doing those two things, she went to school at the Monterey School of Law from, I believe, 1998 or 1999. Yeah, right. She finished in 1993. As soon as she finished, she did pass the bar the first time, and that's to be congratulated. Thereafterwards, she returned to the Santa Cruz County Council and worked there for about 10 years. And then she decided to get into the Superior Court system when she was a bench judge. In 2017, Governor Brown nominated for it. She became a Superior Court judge in Santa Cruz. She retired in 2021, and now she's retired happily and lives in mostly in the Aptos area, but also with her grandkids in Austin, Texas. Kim has a reputation for being fair, honest, And,
Me, no.
no. Great. So I hope that you will enjoy this tonight, and thank you again for coming. Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
no.
All right.
Is that what you just said?
And I'll give them the dice and we'll roll it. I got it. Okay. All right, so everyone, just let me know if I'm not speaking loudly, and you can raise your hand. We're gonna try to have everything be as random as possible. You want me to speak right on into that subject? Usually I find that I can just talk loud enough and people listen. Anyway, we're gonna pass this die on over to the present mayor, because what we're going to do is we're going to ask a series of 6 questions. We're going to have it be very orderly, and the mayor will eventually, not just at this moment, roll the dice. It'll have a number, and then that will be the person that we start the first question with. And then for the second question, it will be the person to their left, and then so on until we finish with 6 questions. Each one of the candidates having had a chance to be under the gun and respond first. They don't know to which one of the 6 questions we're going to ask. So each candidate, before we begin asking them questions, will have 60 seconds, and the timer is here, to tell us about themselves and introduce themselves to us. And it can be composed of whatever you want to fill 60 seconds with. That will be before we begin asking the questions that are rather more specific and will require a specific answer. For each of the persons, each of the candidates, I will repeat the question, so I apologize in advance. You guys are going to get sick of hearing the question asked 6 times, but it's just so that they don't have to sit here going, oh no, what was that question, what was that question, so that it's pretty orderly, hopefully. Each candidate, when they answer the question, will be given 90 seconds to respond. And as you can see, there's a volunteer dressed like myself, I see down there, in dark, somber clothing, but will hold up a colorful sign reminding you of how many seconds you have left. And then this buzzer will buzz when you're cut off, and please stop yourself, even if it's mid-sentence. Just be fair to everybody. One thing I want to be sure that you realize is your response is to be to the question that I've asked. Please don't loop back around after you've heard everybody say something to the other question and say, oh, and by the way, I finished my answer to that, now I'm going to, say something I forgot to say to the first question, or the third question, or the fourth question. Just answer the question that's been asked. That would be helpful to everyone. So, in other words, no rebuttals are going to be allowed for or permitted. Just answer the question that you've just been asked. After the question and answer period, each one of the candidates will again be allowed 60 seconds this time for any closing statements that you wish to make. Expectations. Well, every one of us, and Mr. Fogel has mentioned it, every one of us expect that everyone here, candidates, of course, but audience members as well, is going to be respectful. And that means no exuberant shouts of approval, and also, of course, no cat calls. They're not welcome. And I understand that there is an OWL system, OWL.
The camera.
The camera. Sorry about that. I don't even know where it is.
Looks like an owl, right?
Okay, there it is. Looks like an owl. Anyway, when you make a loud noise, anybody does, or a cat call or anything, it can disturb this wonderful owl and ruin your recording and disturb the video of it. So please just try to be respectful, listen. And if you didn't give the answer to the question you wish would have been asked tonight, follow them around to their next gathering. I'm sure there'll be many of them. At any rate, and then more bad news for audience members, no questions from you tonight. So follow them around to their next meeting. I'm sure it'll be publicized in the paper. Any questions about any of that? Yes, sir.
Just the microphone really helps us. It's just not there unless it's right.
Did you want me to say all that again?
But you're going to read the question. We want to hear the question.
Right. And if you don't hear it this time, you're going to have 5 more times. Understand that, I'll speak right to the microphone.
That's better.
Okay, you like to hear the old rant, okay. All right, so if there are no further questions, just once again, if I'm forgetting to speak into the microphone, raise your hand and remind me, and I'll be mindful of trying to speak directly into the microphone. All right, so now I believe microphone. Now is a chance for you to roll the dice. And what's your number?
3.
All right, so we're going to begin with our third candidate. There he is, thank you so much. And what we're going to do first is we're going to provide a time frame, and remember that I mentioned that it was going to be 60 seconds for you to introduce yourself and explain whatever it is that you wish to explain about yourself. I would strongly suggest you explain why you want to be here tonight and why you're running, whatever you want to say, and go right ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
First one up, very excited. Thank you so much. Can you all hear me in the back? Awesome. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Gino Garcia. Thank you all for being here tonight. I really appreciate to see folks from all over the city coming in and participating in local government. Typically, we don't get this kind of turnout, so it's great to see all you folks here. I was appointed in December of 2022 to council, so I've been serving for about a year and a half to our city, our constituents, and in that time frame, I've had the opportunity to learn about what are those issues, what are the concerns of our residents, learn the channels of communication in local government so that we can push things forward. So I hope I get your support this coming election, and I'm running for District 4. Very excited, very honored to be here tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Brian Perez. Am I pronouncing it properly?
Close enough.
Perez?
Perez is fine.
Okay, Brian Perez.
Thank you.
Again.
All right, 50 years in 1 minute. This is going to be tough. Anyway, my name is Brian Perez. I'm running for District 4 as well. I've grown up in California all my life. After finishing college, 1997, I got commissioned for the Marine Corps. Almost got out in 2001. Circumstances changed, so I stayed in the reserves. I've been deployed a few times over the years. Been all over the world. At the same time, I have managed a law enforcement career, working in the city of Del Rio, public safety as a sergeant. Excuse me. Came up here in 2019 with my family. I'm raising 2 little ones. I live in District 4, obviously, and there's some things that I would like to change at the leadership level here at City Council. Love this place. I'm retiring here, raising a family here, and I will finish in my closing. Thank you.
You're back. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tyler Williamson, and I'm honored to serve as your mayor of Monterey. Growing up in a military family, I learned the value of community and resilience, and it's for those principles that drive the work that I do today. I'm blessed to have found a home here in Monterey for the last 14 years, and recently bought a home with my partner, Ivan, and our dog Sasha, and I'm just honored to be part of a community that's so active and engaged around creating a better world. Since taking office, I've worked tirelessly to address key issues facing our city. I'm proud of what I've achieved, from expanding affordable housing projects, sustainable water supply, and bolstering our rainy day fund. My goal is to foster unity, transparency, a robust civic engagement, and ensuring that every resident has a voice in our future. We have critical issues facing our city, and I'm dedicated to working collaboratively with all of you. I respectfully ask for your vote and support for this opportunity to share my vision with you today. Thank you so much.
Good evening, I'm Monique Caldy. Every thriving community needs a voice that unites people with a shared vision. As a proud California native, I've always been passionate about solving complex challenges. After years spent building my paralegal career and raising a family in Texas and Nevada, my family and I returned to California. I immediately immersed myself in the Monterey Peninsula community, bringing with me a unique perspective shaped by my experience as both a realtor and a businesswoman. I've developed a deep understanding of the opportunities and challenges facing our city. I believe that collaboration, not division, is the key to Monterey's future. That's why I'm focused on critical issues like enhancing public safety, securing a permanent and sustainable water supply, and ensuring open communication between concerned citizens and the City Council. I want to represent you. Monterey deserves a united approach. It's time to set aside the us versus them mentality and work together to create a community that works for everyone. Thank you.
I'll stand because we're going to be sitting for so long. My name is Eric Palmer. I'm running for District 3. I moved here when I was 18 and just had a milestone birthday of 40. So I've been here a long time. As soon as I graduated from CSUMB, I just really wanted to live here. I didn't have a thought of my career. All I wanted to do was live here. And I stumbled upon a job in the city of Monterey on the Monday after I graduated on Saturday. And I worked there for 15 years in the communications office, where I got to meet so many people, work with business associations, work with neighborhood associations, and it's been a wonderful job. I now work at Regen Monterey, which is the Monterey Regional Waste Management District, doing the same thing. I'm a city commissioner on the Architectural Review Committee, and I feel like I have the experience and the leadership and the perspective of a working parent. I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. And I'm ready, and I'll be ready on day one. So thank you for your consideration of a vote.
My goal in running for city council is to provide a choice of candidates and to continue my long career of advocacy for women, families, and my community. I've exhibited that in my 25-year career as a registered nurse, assisting with or as a certified nurse midwife delivering over 4,000 babies, and in my legal career in estate planning, focusing on special needs trust for disabled children and elders getting onto Medi-Cal benefits. I've served my community for 12 years as the Monterey Vista Neighborhood Association board, serving the past 6 years either as vice president or the last 3 as president. I also served 9 years on the Neighborhood and Community Improvement Program, including vice chair from 2021 to 2023. I also served as an MPC Bond Oversight Committee, and I've served on Measure S. I'm ready on day one, ready to serve.
Now, that actually was a trial of passing the baton. So now we're going to go back to the first pick because we haven't started our 6 buses yet. So there we go. Yeah. And now we will be the one to start the first question. So the first question is very similar to what you just done.
Sorry, so it's the trial run. So I'm only failing for this. Spring is in my right. So the first question, if you will, is please list concisely your top 2 to 3 campaign issues and what you will do for each one. Yes.
So thank you for the question. I'll go ahead and list the 3 and then try to get through as many as I can. My top 3 items that for me are very important based on what I've heard from my fellow neighbors: community engagement, economic development, and housing. Community engagement for me is very important. It's part of what I do professionally. So this is an area where I thought I could bring strong skill set to our city to think about how do we bridge that gap between our community members and local governments. There is, throughout the region, I've seen it over and over again, a separation between community members and local government in terms of working together, moving policy forward and that kind of thing. So that to me is number 1. Second, economic development, especially in District 4, North Fremont is overdue for much attention. So in my in my tenure, what I've tried to do and what I will continue to do is look at those opportunities where additional business can come into North Fremont and really develop the potential that our North Fremont Business District has. Housing, we know that it's an issue. That's an ongoing conversation.
Thank you. All right, next, let me articulate the question again. Please list concisely your top 2 to 3 campaign issues and what you will do for each one.
So going back, why I moved up here, a couple issues. First time I drove through North Fremont, I thought it was going back to the Civil War era. That place really needs some revitalization. That's number one. That's in my district. That's what I want to focus on. North Fremont needs, I don't know why it doesn't look like our downtown Monterey, but there's, and I'm still fairly new to leadership here in the city. So I do want to investigate why we haven't had a collaborative effort on revitalizing that sector. Let's talk about 2. So the second one is public safety. A couple months ago, our chief of police, who is the subject matter expert for public safety, came in asking, pretty much begging for resources. I want to give you those resources. We're down manning, we're down training, we're down facilities, and we're down logistics. And the chief of police, I've been to third world countries, I'm telling you, that is first and foremost. Security is vital. And if we still host all these big events. We just had Car Week. And yeah, we had, augments from other agencies, but we were down personnel. I know that's across the board, but there's no reason why we should not be up to par with our personnel for our police force. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I will articulate again. Please list concisely your top 2 to 3 campaign issues and what you will do for each one.
So I just want to start off by saying that really the goal is to make sure that all residents are included in the issues that we're addressing in the city of Monterey. And so first and foremost, the thing I hear over and over again, whether it affects you directly or not, is housing affordability. And the council has done a lot of work over the last 2 years in addressing those issues from a development standpoint and from a renter standpoint that make up 66% of our community. This is the first council to have ever passed any policies directly related to the rental community, and that includes the rental inventory program and the rental assistance program. We want to continue to bolster those and look at the data that comes out of the rental inventory to be able to make good policy decisions moving forward. Water, I led the effort in pushing forward for the expansion of Pure Water Monterey. That's planned to be constructed and finished in August of next year, and that will provide the city of Monterey water allocation to potentially add additional housing in the city of Monterey. And then the last piece is fiscal sustainability. When I got onto the council, the city had a goal for a rainy day fund of 16.6% that we weren't even meeting. Since I've been on the council, we've increased it to 20%. We're now meeting that, and we've additionally created reserve accounts to provide up to $40 million by the end of this fiscal year, which is 40% of our general fund for the first time ever. So we need to continue to make sure that we have funding to provide for all the infrastructure needs that exist in the city of Monterey.
Thank you very much. Please list concisely your top 2 to 3 campaign issues and what you will do for each one.
Thank you. My number 1 issue is public safety. While I echo your comments about police and fire, completely support police and fire, we also need to look at our forest management and our defensible space requirements mandated by our state. Right now, we're sitting in a pickle. They tell us to do one thing, but we're not allowed to do it. We can't defend our homes. If we can't defend our homes, the next home will burn. We have to manage our public safety, and that also includes our forest management. Of course, we talk about affordable housing. We know that we need affordable housing, but in order to get there, we need water. Water still remains one of our number 1 priorities and problems. Solving water is a complex issue that we know takes cooperation. There's not just one answer to solving water. So we're going to have to solve that before we have more affordable housing. I'd also like to bring more fiscal responsibility to the city council, that our general funds are not disturbed so much that we need to reach into our NCIP funds to take those and again replenish general funds. The budget has been balanced, thank you. We need more transparency. We want to make sure that the budget is fair and that, again, we are not just willy-nilly going around. Thank you.
Sir, please list concisely your top 2 to 3 campaign issues and what you will do for each one.
The number one issue is housing. The state is mandating, no matter if we want it or not, over 3,600 units. They're called regional housing numbers allocation. If we do not do that, what happens is the builder's remedy comes around. And as an architectural review commissioner, it makes me cringe to think of some developer building whatever they want in our neighborhoods and whatever they want in our special business districts that have special character. So we need to make sure that we do that. The housing element does a great job as a roadmap for where we can put those things. And as an architectural review commissioner, I have that perspective of where a vision of where we can build those homes. And we also need to make sure that those units are affordable and which can help bring down costs if we build more units. Secondly, we have deferred maintenance of public facilities. We've been told by our city manager's office that we have over $200 million in deferred maintenance. And I don't know why that has happened for 3 decades under 2 city managers who were public works directors. We should have been alarmed about this a long time ago. And with the city with such renowned facilities like Cannery Row, why do we have dilapidated fire stations? Or why do we have dilapidated community centers? Our firefighters have to live there for half of their lives, and we have families with preschools that are in those recreation centers. We really, really need to address this deferred maintenance.
Thank you. Please list concisely your top 2 to 3 campaign issues and what you will do for each one.
Well, water is essential to housing, and I support the expansion of Pure Monterey and applaud them for their efforts. They now produce 3,500 acre feet of water a year, and that equals 7,000 to 14,000 homes. And when Monterey 1 is expanded, it will produce even more, about twice as much. And I have supported Measure J, which passed in 2018, the Public Water Now, and efforts to buy out CalAm. I too am worried about our infrastructure. Our buildings are old and in dire need of repair. This includes our library and our fire stations and police station. We did, through NCIP, allocate $1.25 million to fire station number 11 and the same to fire station number 12. I do hope to participate as a council member in a citywide discussion of extending Measure S and incorporating that into continued street maintenance, undergrounding when we tear our streets apart, and infrastructure repairs, especially the library is very much on my mind. Safety is a key consideration, especially in District 3 with all our trees. Safety includes housing for residents, safe roads for drivers, and bicycle lanes for bicyclists. We need to take care of the dead fuel in our parks. NCIP has allocated $1 million for that, and thank you.
Very well. Well, congratulations on the first question. We're on to the second question. Mr. Perez, you will begin. This is the question. What are you going to do when the Measure S street repair fund runs out? You may begin.
When the Measure S street repair fund runs out, that is something we're going to have to investigate. I think we need a collaborative approach on getting more funds for something like that. This is going to take not just an approach by our city council, but other city councils on the peninsula, as well as county, as well as our airport board. As I was saying, going back to my leadership skills, I've led a lengthy career having those and establishing those collaborative relationships with other entities, other folks, in order to ensure projects or whatever decision making needs to be done has that collaborative effort, and that's something that I would have to first and foremost investigate before going any further. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Once again, what are you going to do when the Measure S Street Repair Fund runs out? You may begin.
I think the clock is off here. I just want to make sure we're tracking. No, you're-
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll wait till it starts again.
Okay, great. So I just want to help set the table for folks that maybe not are fully aware of what Measure S is. Measure P, Measure S was a fund that the taxpayers approved. I would say by swimming numbers, amongst the highest in the entire state. So there's broad community support for this. And the idea behind Measure P, Measure S was to fix every road in the city of Monterey, addressing our sidewalk infrastructure needs, and making our intersections ADA compliant. And so that the funding is running out in 2027. I want to first identify that we need to engage in broad community input, but I think that we need to, the sense is that we're going to need to extend that. My hope is that while we extend that, there's been conversation happening in the city around huge infrastructure needs. Eric Palmer just spoke to how we have over $200 million of deferred maintenance. There's no way that we're going to cover that with just the $40 million that we've set aside in our reserve account so far. We need a lot more funding to do it. I think the voters appreciate and respect the work that we've done in the city of Monterey to maintain a high quality roads. In fact, we just exceeded 80%, which is the highest in the entire Tri-County area. So we're doing really good work here, and we just need to continue it, but we need to take care of our public safety facilities, our library, our sports center, the conference center, even though it was just redeveloped in 2016. Before my council term, there was no funding set aside at all for it.
And thank you. We know that you did a little bit of background for us, so I appreciate into your time. All right, so let me state again, what are you going to do when the Measure S Street Repair Funds runs out?
We're on the 9th year of 12 for the Measure S, which is great. We're making great strides, and the streets are definitely coming along. We must continue the momentum of the Measure S improvements. We can do more for public safety. We can look at pedestrian safety, bike safety, cleanliness, traffic management, and tree management. Living in Monterey is a dream. Let's keep it that way. Our neighbors are the experts in identifying our needs. Thanks to the NCIP and our capable city staff, overall street quality has improved. Over a decade of community input in the open process with smart prioritization into existing funding has delivered good results. We need to build on this success and not change what made it possible. We need to listen to our NCIP representatives. They're the eyes and ears of our community. These volunteers save valuable time and money to the city. They continue to help us identify and prioritize our needs so resources are spent as wisely as possible. We must continue the momentum of Measure S improvements. Together we can do more. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, what are you going to do when the Measure S Street Repair Fund runs out? Oh, he's still working on the time for you.
So Measure S and Measure P are really dear to my heart. I worked on those projects and to help educate the community about the impacts and the where your taxpayer dollars are going. I'd like to ask that the taxpayers extend it another year. We only give 2% of capital improvement of our general fund towards capital improvement. That's some of the lowest in the state. But thanks to you voters, we've been able to improve a lot of streets and a lot of sidewalks and ADA accessibility improvements as well. A lot of those roads were what are called slurry sealed. So all it is a small layer of street. So those don't last very long. So you may have to go back and repave some of the streets that we've improved. I'd also like I talked about before, we have over 200 million in deferred maintenance to our public facilities. I'd like to add language to invest in those public facilities so that we can have some of those funds to increase that low capital improvement budget and help improve our library, our fire stations, our police stations, and our recreation centers.
Thank you. We need to adjust the time.
We're gonna let it run down.
Okay, understood. I'll read the question again in preparation. Just let me know when it runs down and we can begin. It's down. What are you going to do when the Measure S street repair fund runs out?
I participated in the Measure S coalition in 2018, and the Measure S is a 1% sales tax on items purchased in Monterey. I believe that there might be support to renew it. It is over in March of 2027, and people appreciate, our residents appreciate the care that we've taken improving the streets. I believe we need to start now, early in 2025, to have a citywide discussion among all stakeholders as to how to implement and see if the community would support another 1% sales tax. There have been discussions already. I imagine some combination of continuing the street repairs, which include ADA curbs, drainage, and street repairs, and adding in that when a street is torn up, that the utility wires would be undergrounded, and to include, let's say that was 50% of the sales, and then include a fraction for infrastructure repairs and some for the undergrounding. So we need a long discussion. We need to start now. It needs to include everyone.
Thank you very much. All right, and sir, for you, what are you going to do when the Measure S street repair fund runs out?
So I think this touches on a couple of things. One, community engagement, and two, fiscal responsibility. How? So community engagement, I think, is going to be really important because our residents are going to have to learn more about either how we extend Measure S, or also how do we look at our budget to start creating that that fund that in the future will be sustainable and will pay for our streets going forward without having to recur to any measures for that kind of infrastructure improvement. So that's why a lot of information needs to come out to community about what are the options, what works well for the city of Monterey, but also we need to open up those channels so that as representatives, we hear what you're saying and go down that path.
Thank you. Now, I believe everyone's spoken on that issue. Is that correct? So the next person to begin is going to be the current mayor on the third question, and you're going to tell me when it's at 0. It is.
We're gonna let the time run out. A few more seconds.
All right. But I'll articulate the question, so it's only a few more seconds. The question here is, how would you balance the concerns of property owners and the needs of renters? And this can be in a variety of issues.
Yeah, so I think we've done that. This council has implemented a rental inventory program. And I actually think that this is a great tool to create a baseline understanding of what our rental market looks like. We had a town hall early on, and it was actually mainly filled by property owners, the Monterey County Association of Realtors members, and landlords. And we also, actually, Councilmember Alan Hoppe and I met with the members of Monterey County Association of Realtors to hear from them about this topic and other solutions in order to address this issue. The fact of the matter is that renters are far too often hesitant to share their voice publicly around the issues as they relate to the issues that affect them as renters. They're in fear of retaliation, and I hear constantly from them on this topic. Look, I have nothing to gain from addressing issues as a renter. I'm not a renter myself, I'm a homeowner, but I want to make sure that we take care of every single member of our community. And it's about bringing every voice to the table to engage in that process. And I thought that a great first step was to make sure that we passed an inventory so that we have data to drive the decisions that we make in the city. That's it. That's all it is. And this creates a fair and equitable marketplace for renters and landlords alike. We all have a public space that we can go to and view data that we can trust and rely on to make valid policy decisions.
Thank you very much. Once again, the question, how would you balance the concerns of the property owners and the needs of the renters? You may begin.
The rental registry opened the doors to the next step, rent stabilization. This is just a fancy term for rent control. Rent control hurts renters. Many owners currently have tenants with below market rents. They keep them in place because of history and respect. Those owners are fortunate to have properties that are not leveraged at today's sales prices, today's property taxes, or higher interest rates. This is a benefit passed to the renters in below market rents. However, owners are very unhappy about government control of their privately held assets, and they voice their concerns loudly, falling on deaf ears. Rental properties have been sold, and remaining owners are preparing to sell. Once that happens, those rental units will come out of the supply. If they remain rentals with the new owners, they will be brought up to fair market rents out of necessity. Lower supply rents means higher rents. When owners are limited to a very small government-controlled rent increases, they're limited in what repairs they can make and any renovations that can be done. This results in properties minimally maintained with small reserves. If an owner has to put a new roof on a property, that's going to put them in the black. They're going to sell that property, and now it comes out of the supply again. The only solution is more affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please hold your applause. Thank you. All right, the question again is, how would you balance the concerns of the property owners and the needs of renters? You may begin.
Campaigning has been great. I've had the opportunity to talk to both property owners and renters, and I believe that we can find a balance. I believe that rental property owners should have the right to a return on their investment. As we all know, with inflation, expenses are up, so they should get a return on their investment and also be able to pay for rent costs. At the same time, we have a lot of people here that are unable to afford the rent. For example, my 2-bedroom apartment in 2012 has gone up 300%, and my wages have not. I think that we need to build more housing. The housing element gives us a roadmap on how to do that. So hopefully, and those affordable housing developments will require those housing developments will require affordable housing. So if we can bring the units up, hopefully we can bring prices down. But we also need to prevent the displacement of renters. Renters are our residents. And this council has put aside $250,000 for that. I think it's been working great. What I've heard a lot from residents is that they're waiting in waiting lists. So I'm concerned about that. We do not want to displace any renters. They are our workforce here. And maybe we need to look at increasing that budget.
Thank you. Once again, the question, how would you balance the concerns of the property owners and the needs of the renters?
We all want stable communities. And the question is, how do we achieve that? I am very interested in studying the data from the rental registry and seeing who the owners are. Are we dealing with a lot of corporate holdings, and are those corporate holdings really just families with small holdings, or are we looking at a part of the nationwide grab on to large corporations running real estate? inventory. I want a very deep dive with all stakeholders as to the research on this. How do we effectively keep rents down? So far, the registry has raised rents by $25, and that the other $25 is passed on to the landlord, but that gets absorbed into landlord costs. I also agree that the answer is building. We need more building. I also want to watch closely what's happened with Salinas. They're leading the move into rent control, and I want to watch closely what are their successes and what are their failures and what can we learn from them. But I too have learned a lot from canvassing. I meet renters who feel stable, they have jobs and they can keep up, and renters who cannot.
Thank you. Concern. How would you balance the concerns of property owners and the needs of renters?
I'm very glad that this question was raised because what you're all listening to here is what we're challenged with. You listen to each of our responses, they're all different. Why don't we base our policy crafting, our policy design on data? And that's the sole purpose of the rental registry. Let's get the data, let's figure out really what we're up against in terms of the rental market in the city of Monterey. And then based on that, let's craft the policy that works well for renters and for our property owners, property management companies, whoever is involved, all stakeholders. That's what the rental registry is all about.
Thank you. All right. Now, I don't think you have to. Oh, yes. Yeah, let me repeat the question for you. Okay. I'm going to just state the question, but don't begin your answer until this indicates. How would you balance the concerns of property owners and the needs of renters? Maybe you can repeat the book.
Well, first off, I think government infringement at the local level is a bad thing regarding getting involved in the tenant-landlord relationship. I don't agree at this point unless I can see different data that the rental registry is effective. I think this is fostering for rent control, which from what I understand, and the data has already explained to me that this has not worked in other big cities. This is a unique area. NPS has a lot of senior officers that get a stipend of about between $4,000 and $4,500 a month, which is just goes to housing. So that inflates the rental market here. There's a lot going into this calculus, but something that's come up a lot, like on my campus, is this very question. To be honest, I don't know what the right answer is, but I think that government infringement at this level is not a good thing. We already have, the state of California already has a cap on what landlords are allowed to raise rents to, and that's 5% plus CPI. So with inflation and with somebody already mentioned costs going up, construction costs, if somebody needs to put a new roof on their rental, it's, everybody's taking a bite out of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question, and you will begin, is the following. Last week, the Salinas City Council unanimously passed a 2.75% rent cap and additional tenant protections. What is your position on rental stabilization / rent control, and why?
Well, again, rent stabilization is just a fancy term for rent control. And what Salinas passed last week is much stricter than what the state mandates. Salinas wants to talk about a 2.75% increase cap, not connected to CPI. That is not sustainable. It just simply isn't. It doesn't even match what our insurance rates go up every year. We need to look at some studies and see whether or not this works. And I can tell you it doesn't work. The studies have been in the big cities because that's where rent control happens. In 2023, we know that more affluent and white renters actually tended to benefit more. We're not protecting the minorities. This is a study out of the Regional Science and Urban Economics. If you'd like the statistics, I'm happy to share. In 2022, UC Berkeley said that tenants of rent-controlled units are 240% more likely to be evicted. We're not protecting renters when we pass rent control. We need to build more affordable housing, period.
Thank you. Last week, the Salinas City Council unanimously passed a 2.75% rent cap and additional tenant protections. What is your position on rent stabilization, rent control, and why?
I'm not in favor of rent stabilization. I'm in favor of fair prices for renters and having housing conditions that are safe. What I'm seeing elsewhere, seeing an environment where renters and landlords are being pitted against one another. And I don't think we need to have an environment like that here. What are we trying to solve? We're trying to solve a fair housing market. What we can work toward now is building the housing that we're mandated to build. We have opportunity sites to do that, require affordable housing, get more units in our city. I think I can help provide that vision. We need leaders who can help provide the vision of where housing development is appropriate. And also, again, I think speaking to the prevention of displacement of residents, that's something we really need to work on. So I would support more rental assistance at this time. So those are the policies that I would like to prioritize if I would be on City Council.
Thank you. Let me restate the question. Last week, the Salinas City Council unanimously passed a 2.75% rent cap and additional tenant protections. What is your position on rental stabilization, rent control, and why?
I too believe that the answer is building more, reaching our 3,654 regional housing allocations so we can house more people. I want to watch what Salinas is doing, watch them deeply, watch whether they're making mistakes, how it works for their community, what are the advantages, and learn from that. I want to deep dive into the research. I too am unsure whether we're controlling costs with government intervention, and yet I want our community housed and stable. When I have been canvassing, I come across three segments. Tenants who feel stable, they have incomes, and they understand capitalism and increases, and then older retired tenants who feel threatened. I think our assistance, our rental assistance program is great. Those people can be helped. The other category I'm running into a lot are builders who have made their living building homes and accumulating a portfolio, or people who have invested in building, and they express great concern over whether they can be maintaining their homes.
Thank you very much. Sir, last week, the Salinas City Council unanimously passed a 2.75% rent cap and additional tenant protections. What is your position on rental stabilization, rent control, and why?
So as I had mentioned earlier, my approach really is to figure out what it is that we're up against in terms of the rental market here in the city of Monterey. And based on data that we get from the rental registry, then design policy that impacts both renters and property owners as possibly as possible. So I think it's also a bit premature, and the question is somewhat incomplete to say what is the stance on rent stabilization and rent control, because those policies vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. What might work in Salinas probably won't work in Monterey. So what we need to do is really craft policy that is unique to Monterey, that is customized to Monterey, so that again, we get the best impact possible for our renters and our property owners.
Thank you. Last week, the Salinas City Council unanimously passed a 2.75% rent cap and additional tenant protections. What is your position on rental stabilization, rent control, and why?
I think I answered this last time, but just to recap, the state of California already has this restriction, 5% plus CPI. Doing these restrictions at the local level, I think it's an experiment. We're definitely gonna be watching how it's gonna take effect in that city. But for me right now, on this data, it's gonna be different. I don't think it works. Again, I don't think local government should be interfering with the tenant-landlord relationship. Costs have gone up, inflation has gone up, construction costs have gone up, insurance costs. These are some of the things that the landlords have to deal with. These things have skyrocketed in California. So to cap them now and not giving them that full 2.25% extra, it's really going to hurt them. It's probably going to force them to sell their properties if they can't afford that. They can't sustain it. But again, yeah, Monterey's unique. It's not Salinas. It's a coastal city. This hasn't worked in other coastal cities, so we'll see.
Thank you. Last week, the Salinas City Council unanimously passed a 2.75% rent cap and additional tenant protections. What is your position on rental stabilization, rent control, and why? Wait 1 minute. You may begin.
Yep, so I just want to start off, I think Gino nailed it. We need to find policies that work for the city of Monterey. And again, that's the whole purpose of us passing the rental inventory program. I don't want to sit here today, and I'm not going to sit here today. And actually, in fact, the council has never even talked about rent control. In fact, there's been a lot of fear mongering being pushed out in response to the efforts that we've been making on the council. And I think it's important to speak factual and not try to stoke the flames and create further divisions. We need to come together as a community and find solutions. So first and foremost, and a lot of my colleagues here have said it, the main reason why we're even having this conversation is because we haven't, for decades, built enough housing to keep pace with the growth in the population. So we need to build more housing. The initial data that actually staff has shared shows that rents might be going down. And so why would we have a conversation around controlling the cost of rent increases when they may not even be increased? The matter of fact is that when we had that discussion around the rental inventory, we had somebody show up, a mother, who said that she had mold growing in her house. Her problem wasn't her rent going up, it was that she had a 1-month-old child who kept getting sick and had to go to the hospital because the landlord didn't do anything about the mold complaint that she made. We need to take care of those people. We need to take care of the 96-year-old Pacific Grovian who just got evicted from their home, 96 years old. We need to take care of our community. That's what this is about.
Thank you, sir. All right, no, please, please, thank you. We don't want to disturb the owl. Now, the next question is as follows. The microphone in the right spot. The NCIP is a special revenue program that provides 16% of the transient occupancy tax funds to the city neighborhoods. A, are you supportive of the current system? B, why or why not? And C, what changes, if any, would you make? You may begin.
Quick question. The NCIP has been a groundbreaking program. It's been a model throughout the United States. We have a lot of impacts from visitors and tourists. So we should be getting some of those hotel taxes to make improvements that come to our neighborhoods. And I've been active in the city of Monterey to solicit projects. That was my job. And my job was also to report about the big projects that we had. I was there at the ribbon cuttings and everything to celebrate all those successes. I do think that we need to look at investing in maintenance of some of these things. Think about the artificial fields at Laguna Grande soccer field, at the baseball field at Solicitor Park. I'm thinking of the skate park, play structures at Danza Menace. Sometimes we build these projects and yet we're not setting aside funding to maintain them. At the same time, I'd like to see, because of our large deferred maintenance of public facilities of over $200 million, I'd like to see in the next few years more large investments in these properties that are owned by all of us and that are used by all of us. So I wouldn't change the process, and the NCIP has been very, very collaborative in the past, and I hope they continue that collaboration in the future.
Thank you. The question again, NCIP is a special revenue program that provides 16% of the TOT funds to the city neighborhoods. A, are you supportive of the current system? B, why or why not? And C, what changes, if any, would you make? You may begin.
I'm very supportive of the NCIP program. I have been to 100% of NCIP meetings for the last 10 years. It's a very collaborative program and it's working well. What I would change is I would hope that council would know more about how NCIP functions, that every project is considered, that it's vetted by the community, that it's an immense amount of work, that it takes a representative who knows the community, that comes from the community. And what I would change is that understanding on the council. So when I'm elected, I will be that person with the depth to help the council understand. Often these positions are misinterpreted as power positions to be a rep. The power is in the individual resident that submits a project, and it's a source of inspiration and vision. And the work is the reps do the work of communicating with the community. It's not powerful to have 1/16 of a vote. The power is with each individual person who can come up with amazing projects that benefit the city.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And for you, sir, NCIP is a special revenue program that provides 16% of the TOT funds to the city neighborhoods. A, are you supportive of the current system? B, why or why not? And C, what changes, if any, would you make?
I have said this in the past also publicly that my belief is that NCIP is one of the best community-driven processes that we have throughout the region. It's that type of process that brings in individuals, community, and gives them the power and the authority to say, you know what? I have a vision for my neighborhood and I want to communicate that to you. And then it goes through the proper channels so that these projects can get vetted by the group. And then that project list gets recommended to council for then adoption of the list and then moving forward with construction. The thing that I would work on improving is the collaboration and the communication between NCIP, city staff, city council, and really all our neighbors who are wanting to participate in that process. I was very happy to see that there was a joint meeting scheduled and that was the first step, I think, towards better collaboration between everybody involved. I think that's really important, especially in a community-driven process.
Thank you. And for you, sir, NCIP is a special revenue program that provides 16% of the TOT funds to the city neighborhood. Are you supportive of the current system? Why or why not? And what changes, if any, would you make?
Yes, I'm very supportive of the NCIP program. It was a measure that was passed, I believe, in the 80s, and it's been running strong ever since. This is really one of the crown jewels of the Monterey, the city of Monterey. The reason for that is because I went to a couple meetings before I jumped in this race, and the leadership that I saw at the NCIP, these are all volunteers, volunteering their time, which is precious to me. I don't have a lot of time. Many projects, doing a lot of the work that our city staff would do. That's very effective. That's immensely effective. And I wouldn't want to change anything about how the NCIP runs. The only thing that I probably would change is just the transparency with the leadership changes that were made abruptly in the last few months. I think we need to treat our volunteers really, really well, making big, bold adjustments at the last minute without consulting everybody and having that collaborative effort just does damage in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then for you, sir, NCIP is a special revenue program that provides 16% of the TOT funds to city neighborhoods. A, are you supportive of the current system? B, why or why not? And C, what changes, if any, would you make?
Of course, I'm supportive of the NCIP program. What really drives me to do the work that I do on the council is community engagement. So when we have an opportunity for folks in the community to come together and push forward really cool, interesting things that are in alignment with our values and the needs that exist within our community, it's a no-brainer. But there's only one person that I've heard of. Everybody else that I've talked to on this topic gets and understands that there's a need to make some adjustments to NCIP. One of the main concerns that I hear, particularly from folks in neighborhood associations and NCIP reps, is that when they submit projects, it might get approved and it may not get developed. Before the pandemic, we had projects going back 15 years that had been approved and no movement on that. And think about the cost of inflation and just the burden that creates on the system. There was a really good proposal, and Gino brought this up in the first ever joint session between the council and the NCIP to address some of the conflict and the discomfort that's existing between the city and the NCIP program, that maybe we look at approving fewer, bigger projects, so that way we feel more confident about those things getting done. So, of course, I support the NCIP program. We just need to make sure that all voices are represented and included in the decision-making process. It's about all of us coming together at the end of the day.
Thank you. And then finally, NCIP is a special revenue program that provides 16% of the TOT funds to the city neighborhoods. Are you supportive of the current system? Why or why not? And what changes would you make?
I am 100%, 1,000% supportive of the NCIP program. It is the most beautiful thing that happens in this city, and likely across the nation. It is very, very unique. We don't see this type of participation by residents unless you're sitting on a formal HOA, homeowners association board, where you have a big buy-in. But these are volunteers in our community. They are the eyes and ears of our community. This program has worked for decades. It produces accountability within our neighborhoods and a sense of pride. And as a mother, I know that when we work together as a family, we get more done. We love our neighborhoods, and we're going to be a lot more careful about what we do with our dollars. Things that I would improve, I would like to see those rolling projects. I know that some of those projects don't make it on, and then they have to go back through an entire approval process again. It seems to me they would just roll back up. We'll talk about them in the next year. I would like to see improved notices to the neighborhood. Frankly, I've never seen a notice of an NCIP meeting. And that should be on our streets. Not everyone is on the internet. As a matter of fact, a lot of our demographics aren't on the internet at all. Maybe they don't even text. So perhaps we can put some more signs out and some more media. So let's improve the communications, keep the involvement where it is, and get these projects to roll so they continue to be supported. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like us all just to stand up for a minute, stretch our legs, our audience, do so well. We only have one question left, and then everyone will have 60 seconds to. And I congratulate you on being so polite, coming from Santa Cruz. We have a good one. Please don't be seated uncomfortably as my husband back there in the recliner. Please be seated. We only have one more question to go. Be thankful you're not up here. Be thankful for them. And all right, everyone. Now, the last question, and we do have a microphone in someone's hands. Thank you, ma'am. Apparently, it has been heard frequently from the city manager over the last year, and specifically in the State of the City address on February 15th, that the city of Monterey, quote, does not have a revenue problem, it has a spending problem, end quote. Do you agree with this? And if so, what would you do to curb spending? You may begin.
Well, the challenges of balancing the city of Monterey budget are real. The first issue to look at deeply is the pension, the lack of pension funding, and those numbers are big. So we need to look at reinvestment strategies, negotiations with unions. We need to look at salaries. Sam Farr had a really interesting letter in the newspaper about how we were coming up with salary bases. There was another letter I read recently about salaries and benefits over 300 and sometimes 400,000. So though we want safety officers, we want our firefighters and our police respected, I think we're gonna have to look at that. We're going to have to look at being collaborative with NCIP, but as I said, NCIP, when they hear what the city needs, is very willing to chip in the 1.25 million toward Fire Station 11 and the 1.25 contribution to Fire Station 12. So we do have resources there.
Thank you. Thank you. We have heard frequently, as a little abrupt, I apologize.
We've heard frequently from the city manager over the last year, and specifically in the State of the City address on February 15th, that the city of Monterey, quote, does not have a revenue problem, it has a spending problem, end quote. Do you agree with this? And what would you do to curb spending?
So when I think about budget and when I'm thinking about how I want to approach decisions relating to our budget, what the place where I come from is taking a look at how we protect our public interests. So budget oversight ensures that public resources are managed responsibly, there isn't misuse, and that funds are used effectively for our community's needs. Now, City of Monterey is very unique, I think, compared to other cities in our area in terms of what we bring to the region and what folks from throughout the world see in our city. So yes, if we want to attract all the wonderful folks who then contribute to our city, we need to also make some investments, right? So it's a balancing act. And it's a balancing act that is very real, has real impacts for our residents. A real example, and I'm gonna wrap it up really quick here, Casanova Park Center, I've been advocating to reopen that center. One of the challenges is finding the sustainable budget for that, right? So balancing.
Thank you. So we have heard frequently from our city manager over the last year, and specifically in the State of the City address February 15th, that the city of Monterey, quote, doesn't have a revenue problem, it has a spending problem, end quote. Do you agree with this? And if so, what would you do to curb spending?
So from what I understand, we've got a very competent city manager, and this is where my leadership kicks in. I'm very good at listening to my subject matter expert, as long as I know he's qualified and competent, which it sounds like Mr. Hans is. I want to hear him prioritize everything, what we need, what are some of the things we can cut? It's like any household budget. You know, what are some of the things that, hey, if we want to save money, if we, want to move forward, have that nice nest egg for when we do run into bad times like COVID, we need to have a savings. We need to have a budget. Okay, our city manager is very confident. And to answer this question, I'd sit down with him first, one-on-one, and then have that collaborative effort with city council to figure out our priorities. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So someone has heard frequently from the city manager over the last year, and specifically in the State of the City address that he made on February 15th, that the city of Monterey, quote, doesn't have a revenue problem, it has a spending problem, end quote. Do you agree with this, and what would you do to curb spending?
So we need to do both. We need to continue to find opportunities to raise revenue, but we also need to find opportunities to responsibly cut. We all have to do this managing our own personal budgets. We know what it's like when you have to stop buying to Starbucks every day or whatever that might be. So we need to do that in the city of Monterey. I've regularly advocated for this. In fact, I wish that we can create a program, maybe have a committee made up of community members where they can help give a recommendation to the council on a preliminary budget that looks at both increases and cuts. But cutting is always difficult. It's always easy to add on. And I think that was part of the point in which Hans was making when he made that remark. You have new council members come in over time. Everybody wants to do their pet project, but nobody's willing to take anything away. For far too long, we've always spent, and never took a second to really evaluate and try to find a way of trimming. I just want to be a little bit cautious in regards to our workforce. We need to take care of our city employees. And yes, the numbers might seem alarming, but our workforce works really hard to provide the city services that we love and respect every single day. And we're competing. The reason why those numbers are so high is because we're competing with other jurisdictions. I just want to make one final point in regards to our public safety. anything that the public safety department, both fire and police, that brought forward to the council, we've approved. So I just want to clarify for the record that we're not disapproving anything. This council has approved everything that's come forward from public safety. So thank you.
Thank you. So it's been heard frequently from the city managers last year, and specifically in the State of the City address, February 15th, that the city of Monterey does not have a revenue problem, it has a spending problem, end quote. Do you agree with this? And if so, what would you do to curb spending?
I partially disagree with this statement. We do have a revenue problem. We know that our group tourism numbers have not recovered to 2019 levels. Let's let that sink in. That was 5 years ago, folks. We still don't have the revenue from 5 years ago, and it costs a lot more to run a city today than it did 5 years ago. We need to look at the essential and the non-essential spending. Essential spending is easy to point out. Public safety, tree management, street improvements, we understand that. Non-essential spending is a little bit harder. We get into city parties and parades and document changes. These are good things and they cause pride in our city, but we still have to examine them. Just like any good family, we have to figure out what we can trim. Again, we need to remember that our revenue is not where it was in 2019. It just simply is not. And as a member of the Chamber of Commerce, I see these numbers come out on a weekly basis. I encourage you to get more involved and learn the numbers of our cities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Passing the baton. So somebody has heard frequently, now we've heard it frequently, that the city manager year, and specifically in the State of the City address on February 15, has opined that the city of Monterey doesn't have a revenue problem, but has a spending problem, end quote. Do you agree with this? And if so, what would you do to curb spending?
Throughout my 17 years working for local government, and most of the time at the city of Monterey, what I've seen is an over-reliance on tourism revenue. So during economic downturns like the COVID and the Great Recession, we have massive layoffs, we cut essential services, and it's so volatile because we are not diversifying our revenue. One way to diversify revenue is let's approve mixed housing. I'm looking at North Fremont, there's lots of room, empty lots. Let's build housing above businesses. Let's build more dense housing in the downtown areas so that when tourism season isn't here, we'll have year-long residents that can spend money and up our sales taxes. Another wasted opportunity is not approving cannabis retail for so long. There's been no data from police chiefs in our county that there are safety issues. We asked. And our residents cross borders and spend millions upon countless millions of dollars that could have been in our general fund and bring it back here. We did extensive research, including postcards to every single resident. We went to every single neighborhood association. We went to every single business association. No one had a problem with it. Why don't we have these businesses here? Each one could provide millions of dollars a year. We need to diversify our revenue.
Thank you. We've heard frequently from our city manager.
I already did that.
Oh, good, I thought you had.
I'll do it again.
Groundhog Day. Folks, was the last formal question, and what we do have left to do is 60 seconds of closing statements in whatever manner you wish to close. And I'm not necessarily going to make you do it first.
What if I want to?
If you want to, I'm gonna make you do it first, all right? And so, I'd like you to not forget to tell these lovely people your name. They might not all be able to see these names here, please. And if you could, for your closing statements, if you wouldn't mind, would you please stand up and then let them know for the last 60 seconds what you want to say about yourself and what you want their takeaway to be.
Okay, Jean Rash, you know me. I am the community workhorse, and I am here to serve you. I deliver not only babies, but results. and I want to list a few of them. I was heavily involved in the wireless ordinance, which took 7 years to amend, but finally left us with 100-foot setbacks in R1 districts from our homes to the bedrooms of our children. It was a great victory, and I had to work with the city council on that to be effective. I'm the founding chair of Monterey Undergrounding, which has been for 6 years, looking at how we can have a manageable program of optimizing our dollars when we're tearing our streets up and how to get the wires underground for safety and escape routes. I have was involved in the automatic license plate reader program, and that.
Thank you so much. All right, don't forget to state your name and your district, and you may begin.
Thank you. So my name is Gino Garcia, and I am running for District 4, City of Monterey. I'm very proud to be doing so. I have a family that I'm raising here. I'm deeply committed to them, to you, to make sure that our community vision moves forward. 1.5 years ago, when I ran for the appointment, I wasn't recruited. I went out of my own volition and said, you know what? I want to be active in my community, and that's how I'm going to do it. I didn't know anybody in council. I was appointed unanimously. Here I am again, not being recruited this time as well, saying, you know what? I owe this to my community. I want my community to further our vision, and that's what I'm trying to do. So hopefully with your support, we'll get there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Moment. I don't know if the time's,
Not your turn. 6, yeah.
we don't know if the time's right.
The time is down.
Yeah.
Now, first off, I'd like to thank you folks for putting this event together. Jill, thank you. Lori, thank you. And then to our moderator, thank you very much. Thank you for the folks that came out tonight. Really appreciate you putting us to the screws here up on stage. So I will just make it short and sweet. My name is Brian Perez for District 4. You can learn more about me and why I'm running if you go to the website, Perez4District4Monterey.com. That's Perez4District4Monterey.com. And then the 4 is a number. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, don't begin yet. I'm glad you pushed that chair way back.
Whoa.
So he's gonna do that. Ready? You may begin.
So thank you all for engaging in this discussion tonight. Serving as your mayor has been a privilege and a profound responsibility, and I'm grateful for the trust that you placed in me. Together, we've made significant strides, but there's still much work to be done. Our collective challenges, whether it's affordable housing, water, sustainability, or maintaining our fiscal health, require continued dedication and collaboration. I'm committed to leading with transparency and fostering strong community engagement to drive meaningful progress. With your support, I will continue to champion policies that reflect our values and address our needs, ensuring that Monterey remains vibrant and a welcoming place for all. I ask for your vote and your support for the election this November and to continue moving Monterey forward. And you can learn more about my campaign by going to tylerformonterey.org. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. Ready to go? Yes. You may begin.
Hello, I'm Monique Caldy. Monterey's future depends on leadership that not only listens, but truly understands the issues that matter most to you. I'm running for mayor because I believe Monterey's best days are still ahead, but only if we come together with a clear plan and a shared purpose. You deserve housing that's genuinely affordable, a water supply that's sustainable for generations, and fiscal responsibility that puts your hard money to good use. We must reduce burdensome regulations that stifle innovation and growth. In our diversity, we are mighty, but we must embrace diversity. Don't use it as a source of division, but as a source of strength. The future of Monterey isn't something we should wait for. It's something we can build together. With your support, we can protect what we cherish and move forward with confidence. The best is yet to come, and together, we can make that happen.
Thank you. Now we're going to pass that baton. You may begin.
Everyone, this has been an absolute thrill for me, as someone who's been serving my community all my adult life, to be among civic-minded residents such as yourself, who like to listen to all viewpoints. One of the best things about the public process in Monterey is that anyone can run. We've had such a diversity of viewpoints and occupations on here. You can see that here, you can see it on the council, nurses, teachers, police officers. What I bring is I've been a government community engagement professional for 17 years, and I think that's a great perspective. Another one is being a working parent. I know what it's like to be a student here, to be a graduate here, struggling to live here, but motivated to do that. And now as a parent and a working parent, and I'd love to expand my public service. And thank you very much for the consideration of the vote.
Thank you very much, and thank all of you. I'm going to ask Dr. Joe Fogel to step forward to say some closing remarks. And before I hand the microphone over, I want to tell you all how impressed I am with you, and I really appreciate coming here and doing this. I was a little bit nervous about it.
So I think we would like to thank Judge Basket for a wonderful job. Thank you. I'm moved by the thought of a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Today was a remarkable event. I like the fact that we heard lots of views, lots of opinions, and with respect by all involved. And I thank you all very, very much for coming here, all of you. I feel that the city of Monterey is in good hands. Thank you. And thank you all for coming. Good night.